everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir, Silent Gods. For today's video, we're gonna tackle the Grave of Curse Vampire Prince here, Xenos. My goodness, he is tough. So the goal of this was to try to do some content as free-to-play friendly looking as possible, right? No legendaries, or at most maybe RH only. But man, so I tried to use the same team that I used in yesterday's video. And let's just say that didn't go as planned. This guy is hard. But before we get into all of that, I do want to talk first about something related to Eternal Evolution. If you guys are looking for an amazing, probably the best idle RPG I've ever played, and you still haven't tried Eternal Evolution, you should do it. But even more so, if you already play, listen up. I still consider Eternal Evolution to be one of the best idle RPGs I've ever played, and because I know a lot of my viewers still actively play it, I had to share with you guys something big. I've partnered with Aptoide to be able to bring you massive savings in the form of cashback style program. In just 3 steps, you can get up to 20% bonuses with every purchase. Even new players from day one, everyone could take advantage of this. Step 1, on an Android device or emulator, use my link in the description or the pinned comment to download Aptoide first, then download Eternal Evolution within Aptoide. If you're on a PC, you can copy the link into Chrome on an emulator like BlueStacks. If you already have EE on your device, still follow the same steps and update your version via Aptoide or remove the old one and reinstall. Register and log in to your Aptoide account. Step 2. Before opening the game, install the AppCoins wallet. This enables you to get discounts. A link is also in the description and the pinned comment. Step 3, this is an important one. Make sure you add my promo code within the AppCoin wallet settings. You can also see that it linked when you click the home page. Now you're ready to start saving and get more bang for your buck. Go ahead and open the game and get those purchases. Like this $100 pack, for example. It gives you $15 bonus app coins for your wallet. That's massive savings toward your next purchase and can really add up fast. Be sure to also check out the promotions tab after you've made your first in-game purchase to see more potential savings. It even tracks your bonuses to give you additional offers. The more you spend, the bigger your bonus. Plus, it's not geo-restricted. Everyone can take advantage of it. Links for everything are in the description and the pinned comment, including a longer detailed video on how to set up and use Aptoide. Alright, now back to our regular program. Alright, so, this was entertaining to say the least. It was a reality check also, but there is some harsh reality with this Vampire Prince boss. He hits hard because of the buffs he puts on himself. He puts up an increased attack buff and an increased damage bonus of 30% extra damage. So preventing these buffs or removing these buffs, I think is necessary. Not important, not suggested. I think it's necessary. So on top of the fact that he puts up these buffs, he also puts up a big old shield, right? But the problem is shields don't count as a buff in this game. So if you want to prevent a shield or prevent a buff, prevent a shield or get rid of a shield, buff dispelling does not count. But there is one hero that I used in yesterday's video that can dispel shields. And yes, it does work against this boss. I feel like he is tailor-made for this boss. And I was able to beat level 7 here of the Vampire Prince, which is level 140, without this character. But we're going to talk about both runs, and we're going to talk about my failures, and we're going to talk about the requirements of this in my harsh reality check as I went to do it. So, alright, this dungeon, right? We're talking stage 7 because this is where you first start getting the chances to farm and get legendary resources. But, to be honest, don't look at this dungeon until you've solidly farmed a much more important one, Grave of Venom. Honestly, at the end of the day, you're gonna be in Grave of Venom getting legendary gear before you even look twice at Grave of Curse getting legendary gear. And I'm even saying this for sake of your support characters, because you know what? At the end of the day, skill haste is something important. I mean, if you're using Hexandra for healing, attack and enlightenment, there you go. There's a set that gives you that here, right? So there's so many things you can look at it. Skill haste here is gonna be more beneficial for most of your support heroes than just a basic ass bonus to your HP and defense or resistance. So at the end of the day, you're probably going to be able to use something like this. So okay, you want the skill haste, right? So you use an HP percentage, defense percentage, accuracy, resistance, chest instead of attack, but you still use this attack set just to take advantage of the skill haste for some of those support heroes. So I do want to start this video talking about that because Grave of Venom is going to be more important than the Grave of Curse. So you should be farming out solidly some legendary gear there before you really start expanding to worry about this. Get your damage dealers decked out in some legendary gear over there first, then come to Grave of Curse and use that legendary gear to make this easier because it's not easy. So let me get into it here. We're gonna go to stage 7. I did this, like I said, with a couple different teams, but my first initial intent was not to use the Adventurer, not to use Poison and Ice, definitely not to use Voresh and Furboth. I was trying to use Netta and Brody and even Horus, Erich, my radiant little healers here. I was trying to do all of that and it just did not cut it. At the end of the day, it came down to some very important things. Like I mentioned, buff prevention, buff removal. This is so needed for the boss, and I completely see why Voresh is almost a must-have for this boss. Now, I know not everybody has Voresh, but at least, guys, we're trying our best here. We're working with epics, not legendaries, so you have a much higher chance of getting Voresh and Furboth on your team before you do getting specific legendaries. So that's what we're doing. We're doing our best to be relatable, but at the end of the day, it's a hard dungeon to get to the point of farming legendary gear, so you're just gonna need better heroes and better gear to get to this point. And that not everything can be done with a bunch of rares and epic gear. It's just not possible. And I really don't think that is possible unless the stars align with absolute perfect rolls on everything. So I did end up using Furboth. I did end up using Voresh because they're just so good. For the tank, for him to provide extra healing was really needed. Plus he brings a decrease attack, an attack penalty 2 debuff against the boss. The boss hits hard, so having an attack penalty debuff is really helpful. Also, Brody here, that's one of his strengths. Not only does he dispel enemy shields, which is what this boss also does, like we said, but he also puts up decrease attack penalty 2, as we call it here, and that's gonna be really beneficial. Helping to keep that up the whole fight between him and Furboth is really, really nice, honestly. So this team ended up being okay, but I also did it without Brody, without our shield dispeller. I did it with Eli. Eli's just in there just doing pure damage and damage gear, and we'll talk about the builds after this. I will show everything. But first I want to show you the runs. So again, let's talk about his skills. So pretty much, if you want this to be faster, you're actually going to be faster on manual because you want to control when you're removing the shield and when you're using like Brody's ultimate, for example, or when you're using Voresh's ultimate before he puts up the 2 buffs with the skill here. Before he gets back to the start of his rotation of skills, you want to use Voresh's ultimate to prevent that in the first place. But it's not going to go that smoothly on full auto. So it's a little bit longer on full auto because, of course, Brody is going to use his ultimate to get rid of a shield when there's no shield. It's just gonna happen. It's really hard to speed tune these, and obviously it's possible, but it comes down to so many factors. Skill haste, for example. These incense burner, unleashing your ultimate skill, increasing energy there, right? Same thing with the other one. The Kendall, recharge time of the battle skill. There's so many factors into a speed tune in this game that personally, my brain hasn't even thought of trying to speed tune anything perfectly at this point. It's just too hard between skill haste and all these different energy recharge factors. And if you're using someone like him, I think like didn't he have an energy? Someone I was using had like an energy recharge adjustment. I don't even know now. But it gets really messy, right? It gets really messy. So I'm gonna get rid of myself and I'm gonna just play the runs. So we're looking to get rid of the shields with the run with Brody, right? And then we're also looking to get rid of the buffs, obviously, or prevent them from the first place. Obviously, if you don't have Varesh, but you have a different hero that dispels enemy buffs, that can be used as well, but you're really going to need that. And when it comes down to it, this was just a really nice team. I'm gonna go ahead and use Brody first. So Brody is nice here because he is defense based for damage. So you can throw a little crit and damage on him, make sure he's landing his debuffs, and you're good to go. And most importantly, guys, make sure you have enough accuracy. It's not like some games where if you have less than the accuracy, you're gonna do it sometimes. No. You need exactly the accuracy that they're telling you. So we do have good accuracy on Brody to make sure he can remove the shield. So he's got over 200 accuracy, probably too much now. I could actually give him some more damage or survivability here, but that's fine. Same thing with Furboth. I want to make sure he's landing that decrease attack. So he's got over 200 accuracy as well. I don't quite need that for this level, but I was hoping to get to higher levels, but man, I think honestly, guys, if you're farming stage 7, stage 8, just be happy. This is a hard boss. So unless you have the top tier legendaries that can fulfill these same roles and just do it better, it's gonna be a struggle. So we're gonna go in here, we're gonna use the defense aura for sake of survivability. And yeah, let me go ahead, get rid of myself, and let's play out this first battle with Brody. I'll speed it up, but I'll also slow down certain points and point out different things. So let's show the startup, and the setup here is that first skill from the boss is going to place the buffs. Boom, there's the 2 buffs that we really don't want. And of course, randomly, Varesh is going to use his ultimate when not needed to block new buffs. By the time he gets to placing the buffs again, that is probably going to be gone. But luckily, Varesh did use his battle skill, and he was able to remove a buff, and one of them got off cooldown before the shield was placed. Alright, here we go. Let's get ready. We're getting up to the shield again. So there is the 2 buffs there. We don't want them there for the shield, hopefully. And boom, they were gone right before the shield was up. So look how tiny that shield was. Now, let's go ahead and show an example of when the shield is not so tiny. Both buffs and decreased attack up made that a little bit bigger of a shield, right? Those two buffs, but at least there was decreased attack. It was big, but not massive, right? No decreased attack on the boss. And he does have an increased attack, and boom, look how big that shield is with just no decreased attack. That's how important that debuff really can be. Now it comes down to timing. Is Brody going to have good timing for dispelling the shield? Boom, and there it goes. Look at that. That big shield is gone thanks to Brody. But the boss is about to put it up again, so... And now we're stuck in the same cycle. So this is where it can get a little messy, right? It can get pretty messy. And now let's skip to the end of this battle. We lost Hexandra. It's scary. There's both buffs up now. Everyone could wipe right now at the very end. Whew, that was close. We even lost Varesh. But luckily, Brody had good timing there. And he was able to remove the shield. We got a couple more hits in and the boss is dead. But that did take a while, right? That took 5 minutes just to do that one battle. And it was pretty scary. So I actually was trying to do this again on full auto and it just kept failing. That's just the reality. The timing is so important, and trying to get the timing to land exactly when you need it, it's a mess, honestly. The getting things to land exactly when you want is just so hard, because if the boss does this shield skill in when he has both of his buffs up, it's a bigger shield. If he also has, well, no decrease attack, no attack penalty, sorry, he's gonna hit even harder. So there's so many different combinations of things where if these buffs are on the boss and you don't have a decrease attack, when this happens, you're screwed. It's just, he's gonna smack really hard. So that's something to also look at. So I figured, instead of doing all that, why don't we take a moment and let's actually just put him in and let's do the run on manual. I want to show you the difference of what decisions I would make here. So the boss is going to do his skills there, which I could have prevented, but that's not the key right now. So it's fine. It's too late. There we go. Voresh did dispel a buff and one buff fell off. Now we can go ahead and dispel the shield with him. And before he does that first skill with the fist, we are going to put up block buffs with Voresh. A buff immunity, see? And now, boom, he couldn't do it in the first place, so nothing to worry about, even easier. Just going to make a huge difference to be able to time these things manually. All right, so here we go. Shield, baby shield, and we'll get rid of it. Simple enough. Now, Voresh, oh no. Shoot, was I too late? Ah, okay, I did it. Whew. I was almost too late on that block buffs for Voresh. So we're waiting to use Voresh's ultimate before here, and Brody's ultimate right after here. Definitely gets messy, but that's the reality of full auto. You can't really control everything, unfortunately. See if we did it in time for Voresh as well, barely. Luckily, he takes some time to cast the skill, so even though this is passed, you're not too late every time, which is really nice. But that's where skill haste can be really important and really beneficial. Something I'm gonna have to look into to see if I can build them better. All right, I couldn't get rid of the buffs this time with Voresh again. But this is really good to show why I'm doing this and talk about what's gonna be the most... All right, you know what? Let's hold that. All right, so we want to prevent those buffs, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Should be fine. Yep, should be fine. He's not gonna use those buffs. All right, and we don't even have a shield for Brody to get rid of, so we're gonna hold his ultimate till right after he goes again. I mean, it's a lot smoother, of course, when you can make those decisions, but it's a hard boss. But at least we got to sit down and talk about the mechanics and understand what's going to be needed to truly be able to combat it, right? All right, we don't need... Oh, yes, Voresh. Boom. I thought I did it already. But this is very reliable. You can see, like, if you can manual it and you're just trying to get through, like, one of those missions, it's like, do 7 or 8 battles of Grave of Curse on whatever stage, this might be your answer, right? Wait, you know what? Let's save that just in case. Oh, shoot, I missed it. Ah! I missed Voresh's. Got one more hit. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt. Ah! Whew, okay, thank God it was only one of those. Increase attack, but you see how... Look how big that shield was. Look how big that shield was. If you don't have a decrease attack, and if the boss has those buffs, it's just rough. Alright, let's just let this... Like, I'm not failing this run, but you see how hard that was? Oh my goodness. It's a tough boss. You just gotta break down and try to manual it, honestly, and understand the mechanics, and it'll help a lot. You're just trying to push through. But obviously, if you get better gear and you could smash harder, Eli is a good one to put in this role. He does smash pretty hard, honestly, for this team, but a better damage dealer, even more so, you could take out Brody and not worry about the shields. If you build Voresh to be even better damage-wise, then, as long as he still has the accuracy to do his job, you're gonna make this a lot faster. You don't necessarily need to get rid of the shields. If you can go through and make sure that you're dispelling those buffs from the boss or preventing them in the first place, you're not gonna have a big shield to get rid of in the first place. You're just gonna have a little tiny one. So that's where you can just smash through and do damage. You don't need Brody. Like, Brody's not 100% necessary to get rid of these shields. So it's still something fun and it's still a work in progress. So again, I would always assume don't farm that boss until you've farmed up really good, at least good enough gear to make it feel more consistent. For sake of the Grave of Venom, that boss just has much better gear regarding damage dealers. So here we are with our adventurer, attack percentage chest all around, big versions, legendary 60%, 60% because his shields or her shields are based on attack. So we do have that full set here, and I do have the ignore defense. It just is the one I ended up going with for sake of that, but you could probably do any of the sets really. It's more so about the attack. Or I could get rid of the set and do 2 and get a bigger attack percentage bonus to have 2 different attack percentage bonus stuff here, and then he might even do even more damage. That probably would help. I did go attack here and attack here. He's just all about those shields, and then I like the battle skill hits pretty hard, which is why you see the adventurer doing some top tier damage there compared to the other ones at least. And yeah, I think this Manicore statue is really good for the adventurer. He is I put him at level 99. I really, really needed it. I don't see being able to do Grave of Curse with a bunch of below level 90 or only level 90. I really think you need that ascension. You need this extra gear slot. So here we have Furboth. I can't imagine doing this without Voresh and or Furboth, honestly, unless you have better versions of legendary heroes. It's just the reality. It's hard. We have accuracy, defense percentage for his gear here. And I do have this decreased penalty. Again, this decreased penalty crown, or if you did happen to get a dupe legendary that you didn't like and you end up purchasing the Witch's Remains, this is very helpful as well. Alright, and then I did have Hexandra as my healer. She's level 91 only, but I did want to get that extra rune slot just to help give her better healing. Her healing is based on attack and enlightenment, so that's kind of what I've mixed in here, including the sets that I have for her as well. I could also go skill haste with the attack set for her, just so she's coming back to her skills more often. And that's something I think Voresh needed. I didn't really go crazy with skill haste. He only has 33 skill haste for my Voresh here. So that might be something I would do. Maybe instead of worried about a little extra crit, maybe I take that back a notch and maybe I look for a piece of gear with some skill haste substats, you know? That might be a bit more beneficial here. I only have like this, and it's just not good enough, honestly. He definitely could use some more skill haste, but we did use Ancestor's Candle, so we came back to the battle skill as much as possible to be able to get rid of those buffs if they got put up. But I could also see using the ultimate one instead to make sure we saw how hard it was to time the ultimate. So instead of adding skill haste, I could swap and I could steal Brody's, well, he needs it too, right? Brody needs to be able to come back to his ultimate as much as possible. But I could have this potentially on Voresh as well. If you're not using Brody in your team, maybe try having this ultimate energy artifact for Voresh. And then you could have your damage dealer like Eli or somebody else in the team and don't have to worry about 2 people needing the same thing. But yeah, he's an accuracy, crit rate, and attack set here. He is in the attack percentage set. He does have skill haste with that set. I tried a little bit, but then I definitely didn't follow through with adding proper skill haste. And he does have this heal, but this is not the best set for him overall. I did want the skill haste, so that's kind of where I went with it. And then I kind of failed at adding more skill haste, so it definitely shows. I can certainly see swapping to this and adding Eli as another option. I do have crit damage and accuracy here as well. My accuracy is a little bit overkill for this level, so that's something I could probably dial back down, but make sure you take a look at whichever boss you're fighting. It tells you what accuracy you need when you look at the info. And then other than that, I mean, it's really just... Well, that was it, right? Eli I tried to use, you could see. He did okay, but it wasn't as reliable. It failed a few times for me, which is why I didn't even bother showing it. But I think if you could do what I just suggested, if you're using Voresh, give him the incense burner, and then use Eli as your damage dealer, and don't use Brody at all, and you should be okay, because like mentioned, the shields that the boss puts up that are the problem are only big if the boss does a ton of damage, and he's only going to do a ton of damage if he puts up these buffs or they're not removed, and when the time of the shield skill comes. But hope this discussion was helpful. Just trying to all work on learning these bosses. Hopefully they don't change them too much at us when it comes global launch, so we're already familiar with it. But yeah, hope this helped. That's all for now. I'll see you in the next video.